The Sonic X Shadow Generations hype is very real, except there's one problem. I haven't completed a Sonic game since I got the Platinum Trophy for the OG Sonic Generations back in 2012. So to get myself properly prepared for the new game and to make myself look like a good little Sonic fan, I am going to get the Platinum Trophy for every Sonic game since Generations, aka the PS4 / PS5 / whatever weird jumbled up console generation we're in now. Without further ado, let's begin where it all started. I decided to start this game full of old games for two reasons. One, it's a collection of remasters of the original few games, and two, I love the retro Sonic games. I grew up playing the original trilogy of Sonic the Hedgehog and still fondly remember blowing into the Sonic 3 cartridge, inserting it into the Sonic & Knuckles cartridge, and then inserting that monster into my older brother's Sega Genesis in the late 90s and early 2000s. Now, my brain comprehends inserting the behemoth in a whole nother way, and I yearn for your innocent nostalgia on an almost daily basis. So when this game came out in 2022, I made sure to download it and give it a spin. And then I didn't play it again until late 2023 because I have a little squirrel brain that can't focus on enjoying games I actually like without feeling the need to grind Call of Duty. But now that I have conditioned my brain to sit down and play all sorts of games again thanks to Platinum Trophy hunting, I decided to get back into this game's trophy grind, which includes the following major steps. Start and finish each of the 4 games included, complete some small and large gameplay related tasks, complete a handful of missions, which I'll explain more in a minute, and unlock a certain amount of stuff in the in-game museum. Believe it or not, I decided to clear Sonic 3 and Knuckles first, as that was my absolute favorite growing up. I don't know, just something about it hits different for me. No stages are amiss in my book, the soundtrack slaps, the gameplay variety is great, and the bosses are all solid yet manageable challenges. The game specific trophies were a little buggy, particularly the defeat 10 Rhinobots trophy, but I was able to collect 3 shield types, turn into Super Sonic, and give Knuckles and Tails a try. That brings us into the general gameplay trophies, which can be obtained as you play any game. There's a trophy for collecting 1000 rings, and a trophy for using Sonic's Spin Dash. And again, all the titles follow the same trophy formula. 1 for starting the game, 2 game-specific trophies, and 1 for finishing the game. Each game also has about 20 or so missions you can tackle and get a rank for. Basically, it's a whole separate mode dedicated to things like beating a stage in under 2 minutes, or defeating 7 specific enemies before clearing an act. Super easy stuff, and since there's more missions than the trophy requires, you can just pick the 10 easiest ones for you, earn 10 S ranks per title, and then call it a day. Besides the mission mode, there's also a boss rush mode and a mirror mode, and both are pretty self-explanatory. This game is chock full of side modes that are bound to keep any retro Sonic enjoyer entertained for hours. Luckily for me, the requirements for the trophies are kinda in the dirt and I'm not complaining here. Completing various missions will earn you coins, which you can use to unlock stuff in the museum. You can view movies, sounds, and art. There's a good mix of original work that you've probably seen in another classic collection, and there's some stuff made just for Origins. Honestly, if you hate on any of this, then you either didn't have a childhood, or you're just a hater and probably shouldn't be playing this anyways. Now that I've properly explained how to unlock most of the trophies in this game, I'll work through the OG Sonic the Hedgehog, which I actually don't think I've ever cleared before, as I don't remember the final stage. It was probably too hard for me as a small child, but no challenge too great for a grown adult man such as myself. Next, I cleared Sonic CD, which I definitely have never finished as it was a rare game and for some reason was never included with the original trilogy in most re-releases. It wasn't my favorite experience, and the time traveling feature is kinda wonky in my opinion. It just felt like Sonic 1.5, which on paper is a half step up, but doesn't really do it for me. Luckily, the game-specific trophies are no pain and I'm able to move on to the last title I need to clear, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Such a mixed bag thinking about it now. Sonic 2 has some absolute classic moments and sounds, and some absolute garbage as well. I don't think I've ever gotten all the Chaos Emeralds in this game, and sure, you could yell skill issue here, and I wouldn't be mad, but these special stages are straight cheats. And some of the later levels get real difficult compared to the other original Sonic games. Luckily, I'm able to clear it pretty quickly, and after 10 hours, I earned the Platinum Trophy for Sonic Origins. I wasn't originally going to do this, but heck with it. I'm making a tier list. Origins gets an automatic S tier. Hands down, no debate. I know they've released this series of games so many times now, but it's been so long since I've successfully played through Sonic 3 and Knuckles. With all the extra features included, it was well worth the $31.49 for the digital deluxe edition back in 2022. Now, it's time for the spiritual successor to these all-time classic games. Yes, while there was technically a Sonic 4, everyone seems to conveniently forget that that 2-part series actually exists. In its place, we have Sonic Mania, a Sonic Team-backed, fan-made game that pays homage to all the originals by remixing and mashing everything together into one cohesive experience. That's right, a man by the name of Christian Whitehead basically remade the original games in the early 2010s until he was commissioned with making his own Sonic game that released in 2017. What a resume. While there is no platinum trophy for this game, I decided that the 100% would suffice for my journey. The trophy list looks something like this. Achieve any ending, collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, collect all gold medallions, and complete a list of zone-specific challenges. On paper, not too shabby, right? How hard can it be? Well, let me tell you something. This game broke something within me, but let me work my way there. We'll start with the base game first. Sonic Mania as a whole is set up to be a sequel to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sorry Sonic 4, but you can officially go home now. The fan service of this game is actually incredibly done. There's a solid mix of worlds from the OG trilogy that have been remixed enough to feel fresh. Every act has an upper, middle, and lower track that all lead to a boss fight. As long as you have 25 rings, you can enter a bonus stage at any checkpoint. And there's a ton of unique set pieces. Unfortunately, this is where it started to fall flat to me. Half of the boss fights in this game pissed me off so bad, you'd think I was in a toxic Call of Duty lobby the way I was swearing at my monitor, which I'm not necessarily proud to admit. Almost all the bosses felt like they had a way to cheese you, particularly the moving boss fights, which there are a lot of. I just felt like I couldn't build or maintain momentum, and that lost me a lot of lives. Again, the attention to detail by the devs is outstanding, I just didn't enjoy my gameplay experience. Anytime something cool started to happen, something annoying would introduce itself to the world and ruin my afternoon. Speaking of annoying worlds, why would they pick zones like Oil, Ocean, and Flying Battery to be in this game? Maybe I'll put in a minor spoiler alert at this point for those of you that haven't played the game yet, but it did come out, what, 7+ years ago at the time of recording? You can get over it. I'm okay seeing worlds like Chemical Plant and Lava Reef, especially with how they start like the original worlds, and then build into fresh ones as you run through them. I just question why they seem to pick stage 2 and the second to last stage of every OG game to be included, and then inserted a few originals to top it off. The story is actually fairly long for a 2D Sonic game, and while the original zones do carry a fun charm to them, again, they insert enemies and tactics that I just didn't like in the original trilogy, and now I just hate them here. This effect also just compounds as the game progresses and as I look to check off some trophies. Like the Chaos Emerald trophy. I only found 2 emeralds in my entire first playthrough. These giant rings are super well hidden, almost to a fault. Therefore, to save myself some heartache, I found a strategy to boot up Chemical Plant, take the lower path, get a free life, go left at this fork, and be gifted a special stage within 30-ish seconds. There was also a way for me to farm bonus stages for medallions. To do this, I went into debug mode, spawned in enough rings and a checkpoint, and went to work for a few hours grinding blue spheres. That's right, not only do I need to complete 30-something new blue sphere stages, I need to perfect them. And oh boy, this was something, but with a little determination, it actually wasn't too hard. I just had to use my brain. Tough stuff. To wrap up this trophy list, about half of the trophies in this game are related to zone-specific challenges. There were 2 or 3 that I was able to naturally complete during my original playthrough, but the rest of them were so hidden and ill-described, I had to look up a guide for most of them. And they all basically boil down to taking the top path until a certain point, and then locating a specific object. I did have to complete Stardust Speedway in under a minute, but after like 3 attempts I did it in 45 seconds. They all took a few tries, but 2 specifically required quite a few resets. The one for beating this Eggman encounter a certain way, and the one for completing Titanic Monarch Zone without getting hit. But once those were taken care of, and I was able to take a deep breath and collect my actual thoughts about my roughly 16 hours of Mania gameplay, minus maybe an hour or 2 for some newborn care, I was able to properly assess it. C tier. Next. Sonic Forces. What a game. I actually earned 21 out of 46 base game trophies for this brief excuse of a game within 3 hours back in 2022. This was one afternoon of peak summer boredom getting the best of me there. I blame it on the lack of central AC in my apartment at the time. Regardless, I didn't have too many thoughts on the game at that time, other than it was really short and cheesy and justified me not picking up modern day Sonic releases if that's how they all turned out. It wasn't anything crazy, but it wasn't bad gameplay wise, I guess. Dialogue was a little weak, but I've never graded Sonic games for voice acting besides Sonic Adventure DX, which obviously has some of the best. I will say, I do like how people say this game relied on nostalgia baiting players for sales, but Mania, Generations, or Classic Collection even did not. Double standard? Perhaps, but I digress. So at this point, what did I need to complete? Well, here's the list. Collect all red star rings, collect all number rings, collect all silver moon rings, collect a total of 100,000 rings, defeat a total of 10,000 enemies, achieve highest honors with all races, collect all Wispins, collect all parts, complete 10 daily challenges, complete 10 SOS missions, and finally, complete all challenge missions. AKA, they're trying to boost player retention on me. And it worked. So I created another avatar because character customization in gaming really does have a grip on me and got to work on some challenges, which mostly revolved around getting S ranks on levels, completing levels under a certain time, and doing certain tasks like defeating so many enemies with a certain move in a stage. I also had to complete SOS missions, which would randomly pop up after finishing levels. They involved either rescuing someone hidden on a stage or completing a stage with a random custom character. I don't know why it took me so long to check my rankings, but as expected, I ranked nowhere near the top. Fortunately, the trophy only requires me to check out the rankings. After that bitter disappointment, I maxed out a custom character, collected parts to make my new characters drippy, got my first ring collecting trophy, and completed 10 daily and 10 SOS missions. And it's at this point that I realized I needed to be grinding red rings, because I still needed a lot of them. Basically, for those of you that don't know, there's 5 red rings hidden on just about every stage. After collecting all of those on a stage, you can start looking for the number rings, which you just need to collect all 5 of in a certain order to complete. After that's done, the silver moon rings unlock, which you will need to collect within a few seconds of finding the first of those 5 per stage. Within all this special ring hunting chaos, I realized that just grinding stages for S ranks was actually a huge waste of time, since I'm now getting so many points from finding the special rings that I'm always finishing stages with an S rank anyways. Great development for me, not mad at all. Upon that realization, I also realized how repetitive the game was getting. The level design was already stale, the dialogue was unbearable, some of the songs were catchy, but just the annoying parts. Oh yeah, I'm 100% questioning why I'm even doing this entire challenge already. All these stages taking less than 2 minutes to complete each has become this game's selling point, because I could not put myself through this if the stages were longer. Anyways, I spent the next few hours taking my frustrations out on 10,000 of Eggman's goons, while locating the rest of the red star, number, and silver moon rings. And I totally did not use dozens of video guides pinpointing all of their exact locations and best strategies for getting there. Who would do that? Certainly not me. Now, who would have thunk that my last challenge mission would be for hitting highest honors with all the races? I don't think I explained this earlier, so let me do it now. Essentially, when you make a custom character, you get to choose its race, whether it be a dog, a cat, or even a hedgehog. Each one comes with a special passive ability. Every time you complete a stage, your score will be translated into honors for that character. I just had to max out 1 or 2 more characters to be done with all the missions. And when you complete missions, you get parts and wispins to make your characters fresh and battle ready. Lucky me though, as there was only 1 more grind I needed to complete, collecting 100,000 rings. Here's the kicker. I had no idea how many I had collected up to this point. You only keep the rings you have at the end of each stage, and my only indicator was the trophy for 50,000 popping up right before I finished the last challenge. You wanna know what the strategy was for grinding rings? Completing level 7. Over and over and over again, as you can easily snag 800 to 900 rings in about a minute 30 seconds. This is where the dark thoughts entered my mind. Much like Eggman's theme song from Sonic Adventure 2 entering my ears at age 8 and never leaving my brain since then. Am I cut out for this grind? Is this platinum trophy worth it? Will Black Ops 6 be the best Call of Duty of the past few years? Should I just stick to my day job? How many more rings do I need? Can I provide for my wife and son? Can we afford anything in this economy? Why won't I stop playing this godforsaken game? What the Oh, hey. There's the platinum trophy. D tier. You want proof that my brain is now broken? You want to know what I did immediately after finishing the base game? I booted up the DLC, played 3 more stages of Shadow, and found all the red star, number, and silver moon rings on those stages. Okay, there's 26 hours of my life I'll never get back, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I recently found out that people actually like this game, and they have to be the only people who have more brain damage than me at this point. Just send the video to the next title. Now we've hit the point where I had to whip out the old PayPal account and purchase the games that I hadn't bought yet. That's right, I had to buy like half the games from this generation just for this challenge. So if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe so that my wife won't be mad that I spent our hard-earned money on the digital sale bin of late PS4/early PS5 era Sonic games. Anyways, this game originally released for the Nintendo Wii all the way back in 2010, so it actually predates Sonic Forces. Kinda wish I knew this earlier, but that's okay, as the Ultimate Edition released for the PS4 in 2021, it included a little extra bonus content that I needed to take care of to platinum this game. This game is known for introducing the Wisps, which grant Sonic momentary abilities and are strongly tied to colors, hence the name of the game. To platinum this title, I had to unlock 47 trophies that can be broken up as follows. Complete each world/zone, collect all 180 red star rings, they're back, S-rank all 44 levels, thus 100%ing every world, complete a few miscellaneous trophies, collect all the Chaos Emeralds, complete Egg Shuttle, which is basically playing through the entire game in one sitting. Now after the Sonic Forces grind, I know this might sound like a tough list of trophies, but trust me when I say that Sonic Forces was way more unenjoyable. My first playthrough of Sonic Colors was actually pretty enjoyable. The worlds were lush and full of character. The Wisp abilities added a fun gameplay mechanic that didn't feel all that gimmicky. The boost and slide buttons were flipped when compared to Sonic Forces, so having to relearn that tripped me up for the first few levels. but I quickly adjusted since I'm a true gamer and can adapt to anything. I literally completed the first 2 worlds in an hour or 2 and earned my first A rank, followed by my first S rank. I also solidified my ability to use homing attacks. I then learned all about quick stepping, sweet spot homing attacks, how to totally purposefully collect 300 rings in 1 run, and how to defeat a boss in less than 3 hits, which I would have to replicate against the other bosses as well in the coming days. I even simultaneously collected all 5 red star rings in 1 run on any act, which was my first time collecting all 5 red star rings on any level in general. I then completed the story, skipped the credits. Shout out to everyone that worked on this lovely little game though, and got to work on grinding the red star rings. Again, I totally didn't use detailed video guides to find them all. Who needs that? And who needs a video guide on how to complete a stage without picking up any rings? Not me, that's for sure. Next, I got to work on absolutely slamming all the bosses, which actually may have been one of the tougher things so far in my time with the game. Fortunately and unfortunately, half the boss fights in this game are basically duplicates of earlier boss fights, so once I learned how to quickly dispose of them for an S rank, it was lights out. I should also mention that every world has this thing called a rival race, which is unlocked after you find half of the red star rings. I basically just had to beat Metal Sonic in a race on one of the levels and earned hella credits for it. Actual cakewalk. That's a pun in case you didn't realize it, because one of the worlds is actually made of cake and you walk on it. You know what? Never mind. We're moving on. So finally 100% every zone. All I had to do was S rank every level, which was actually more difficult to do in this game than in Forces. See, there's no daily score multiplier, and time and ring bonuses don't really account for much. The main way to earn score in this game is to actually use all of the whiz powers found throughout every level, as using them grants a ton of free points. I dashed through world after world and only a little bit of rage was unlocked, as I'm convinced I'm starting to lose brain cells and mental fortitude from playing repetitive games back to back. Trust me, I'm glad I didn't record my live reactions. They were not cute. After grinding out the last of the S ranks and perhaps my sanity, I easily collected all 7 Chaos Emeralds earned through completing a collection of mini stages, and had my first and only experience as Super Sonic in this game. And then it was time for the big boy trophy. Complete every level in 1 run and set a high score for the egg shuttle. And while it did sound daunting, I knew that it would be a satisfying send-off for the game. So I got things started during a presidential debate to avoid the existential dread associated with knowing that this country might be cooked, and 85 minutes and 42 seconds later, I completed all 45 acts and earned Sonic Colors Platinum Trophy. There you have it. Sonic Colors Ultimate makes it into the B tier for me. 19 hours of gameplay, and I'm actually glad that I finally played through this game, even though I probably passed on it as a young man because it was locked to the Wii at the time. But I'm not going to allow that to convince me to play the other Nintendo exclusives anytime soon. Well, maybe if y'all want to see that video one day, then maybe. But for now, it's time to focus on perhaps one of the most groundbreaking entries at the time of release. This is going to be a bold statement. I thoroughly believe that this is the best Sonic game of this generation. It's going to go straight into the A tier, and let me explain why. Here's a number of words. Open world Sonic game. Enough said. It ain't perfect by any means, but it's awesome for what it is. Sonic actually plays very well in a truly 3D world that has little constraints. He moves fast, he hits hard. The combat is actually better than I would expect out of a Sonic game. The level design is pretty solid. There are lots of goodies hidden throughout the islands this game takes place on, even if they render only when they're like 10 feet in front of you. Having the option to play music from previous classic titles tickled my brain in the best way. The story, while rather convoluted and mysterious at first, opens up towards the end and really starts to get deep for no reason at all. The conclusion was, well, lackluster in my opinion, but I won't go too in depth there, as this video is about the 41 trophies this game has to offer and how did I earn them. Luckily, they can be broken down as follows. Complete the main story on each of the 4 islands, complete the side stories on each island, fully reveal the maps on all the islands, unlock all the cyberspace portals on each island, or on cyberspace in a bit, unlock all skills and max out all stats, perform various moves in various amounts of times, get familiar with and master defeating all the enemies, and fish with Big the Cat. Because what good open world game doesn't have fishing in it nowadays? For an open world game, it is very straightforward, and thank God it doesn't require true 100% completion, as I would still be gladly grinding this game out if that was the case. Here's an example. My first 2 trophies were unlocked for getting an S rank in a cyberspace level and completing all the missions in a cyberspace level. That's like all I had to do for cyberspace. And right now you're probably asking, what's cyberspace? Well, it's the part of the game that the designers made first and were like, how do we combine all of these random stages and not make it Sonic Generations, because we're releasing that in 2024? But seriously, they're just the normal Sonic levels that take inspiration from Green Hill, Chemical Plant, or that one city zone that's in every game. Anyways, each cyberspace level has 4 missions. 1 for completing it, 1 for S ranking it by completing it within a certain time, 1 for collecting X amount of rings, and 1 for finding all 5 of the red star rings. Initiate flashbacks to Sonic Forces. Except these red star rings aren't really hidden and can be found in 1 or 2 tries. The open world then opened up. Great writing there, John. Following a quick tutorial, and the gameplay loop becomes as follows. Tackle a guardian, which is basically a mini boss, to get a gear. Insert gear into portal to unlock cyberspace level. Complete said level and associated missions to earn keys. Use keys to earn chaos emeralds. Collect all chaos emeralds to fight Titan, which is the actual boss, and move on to the next island. That's it. That's the game in a nutshell. And it's freaking sick! I performed some key moves, aka the power boost and the phantom rush. Spoke with some key Coco, the seed out looking mother truckers native to the islands, and smashed some boxes. Because, you know, collectibles. Once I was done on Kronos Island, the lush first island of the game, I engaged in an epic boss fight with the Titan. And even on hard difficulty, it only took me 1 or 2 tries to figure out what to do to win this battle. The metal music definitely helped me out here. I then full sent Ari's Island, the desert island, where I encountered my first starfall, aka my first zero risk gambling session of the game. Let's go, dude. Use those stars to hit the slots. Let's win some coin, baby. Oh, sorry. I got wrapped up in the gamba, didn't I? I mean, how else would I earn 100 purple coins? After collecting way too many stars, Coco, story collectibles, and rings, I took on the Titan located here, headbanged to more heavy metal, and set off for Chaos Island, the above ground lava reef section of the game. I honestly can't remember much of what I did here, and considering the only trophy I unlocked on this island was related to unlocking all the skills, I'm sure nothing crazy happened. Just business as usual, fighting cyber ninjas and birds and stuff. Once again, I rounded up the Chaos Emeralds, absolutely demolished another Titan as Supersonic, and eventually made it over to Aranos Island, the final island that looked very similar to the first island. It was here that I finally defeated all the enemy types, and later all the Guardian types, performed Phantom Rush for the 50th time, and landed every single fish, turtle, stick, tire, chest, scroll, and alligator at one fishing spot. And let me tell you, using all of the currency I unlocked through this rampant fishing session actually helped me out a lot later on. I'll get back to that when it's time though. But you know what it is time for? Talking about the final Titan and final boss fight. Actually, I don't know if I have much to say. The last Titan was definitely the easiest one to take down, and the final boss was kinda lame. Trust me, I thoroughly enjoyed Galaga and the similar minigame version of it in this game, but having that be the way I took down an evil interdimensional being that wiped out an entire species of aliens for seemingly no reason, and was able to inhabit and take over an entire moon to fight me, just seems super odd and not fun, TBH. Definitely the weakest part of the game, but I took care of business and moved on to the cleanup portion of this trophy hunt. While it took me roughly 15 hours to play through the main story and some side stuff, I only needed an additional 5 hours to clean up the rest of the side content necessary for the Platinum Trophy. I started by unlocking all the portals and fully revealing the map of the first island, and seeing all of Amy's side stories here. It's also worth mentioning that the trophies for unlocking all the portals only require me to do just that. I had no need to actually play future cyberspace levels and unlock more keys, because I already had all the Chaos Emeralds. With Kronos done, I swapped over to Ari's, did what I had to do there, helped Knuckles out, and then full sent Chaos. That sounds a lot cooler than it actually was, especially since Tails was involved with Chaos Island. This left me with only one more island to tackle, Oranos. I just had to take down the last few Guardians standing, view Sage's stories, reveal the map, find the portals, and max out all of Sonic's attributes, those being speed, power, defense, and ring capacity. And with everything viewed and /or maxed out, the Platinum Trophy was unlocked, and I was ready to move on to the next mainline game before Sonic X Shadow Generations. I honestly don't even know what to say at this point. I've played so many Sonic games back to back to back that I don't even know if I can honestly say if this was a good game or not. On one hand, the art direction is so cute and well done, but on the other hand, I'm pretty sure I'm down to my last 2 brain cells now, and they were straight up not having a good time at the end of this game. But why? Well, to get a better picture, let's look at some of the trophy requirements for unlocking the 39 trophies and Platinum Trophy associated with this game. Clear every zone, clear a secret story, and then the true final boss. Trust me, we'll talk about that one later. Clear various special stages, unlock each of the 7 Chaos Emeralds, collect 10,000 rings, complete a variety of random tasks, use each character's unique attacks to defeat enemies, collect 100 medals, and defeat all of the gold enemies. On paper, not too shabby. In practice, however, this may have been one of the toughest games to complete so far in this little stupid challenge I've given myself. Seriously, I'm not even going to want to play Sonic X Shadow Generations when it comes out at this rate, which is 1 month away at the time of recording. Now this game plays like how I imagine the devs wanted Sonic Mania to play like, a classic speedy Sonic platformer with enhanced visuals and new gen features, which Superstars does astoundingly. Plus, the first zone isn't Green Hill, it's called Bridge Island. And while it is similar to Green Hill, it's a great starting taste to this game. The air mode stages in this game are actually fun and not too janky. The extra bonus stages used to unlock medals are also fun and an homage to the OG special special stages, the way this game just overall plays does tickle my brain. And it's probably because I have a small brain that can't let go of the now retro era of Sonic. Speaking of special stages, I also completed my first Fruit Act, which I'll play a lot more of later to get that trophy for 10,000 rings. And I think now would also be a good time to mention that the Chaos Emeralds actually unlock powers in this game, which is kind of a nifty feature that was probably influenced by Sonic Colors, just without the wisps floating around everywhere. Definitely done to clean up the screen a little bit, in my opinion. I then started breezing through the first half of the zones, which included a jungle zone, sky zone, gambling zone, which is everyone's favorite zone, water zone, desert zone, factory zone, a temple zone, and then I hit the difficult zones. The big bad Eggman endgame end zones. Hey, that was kind of cool. The factory could be included here too, since it gave me some trouble, but seriously, at this point, my vocabulary just became curse words, so I'm glad I didn't record my reactions. The 5th Chaos Emerald being impossible to grab also aided in transforming me into a drunken sailor that only plays Call of Duty, but is actually washed up and stuck playing Black Ops 4. And the boss fights. Oh my. Did they turn up a notch at this point? Holy moly, dude. This went from a goo goo gaga baby game to actually Dark Souls real quick. This also solidifies my opinion that not every act needs to end in a boss fight. I don't know when they started making that a thing or why, but it needs to stop. The last 3 zones, Cyber Station, Frozen Base, and Egg Fortress, kinda suck, and my statement is totally due to a skill issue, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I won't spoil the final Eggman boss fight too much, but I'll just say that it is so stupidly punishing, it legitimately made me consider just ending this whole challenge right here. But with enough blood, sweat, and tears, I managed to push myself through and watch the credits roll. And you know what that means? It's time for some trophy cleanup. Excluding going AFK to take care of my baby, this initial playthrough probably took me about 5 hours, and there was still much work to be done. I started to clean up by collecting 600 plus rings in a Fruit Act, beating the boss in Frozen Base without taking damage, clearing a stage with 200 plus rings, and collecting 100 medals from bonus stages. See, everything I mentioned earlier came back to this. What I haven't talked about yet though, is the gold enemies scattered across the game. You see, the devs hid one singular golden enemy on each individual act that isn't a Fruit Act. To get the associated trophy, I had to totally, legitimately, and not at all hand-holding guidely find said gold enemies, bonk them, and then complete the stage without dying. That's right, because if you have to reset the act, it respawns the gold enemy, which means you didn't actually defeat it upon clearing the act. Very stupid design decision. Very much done on purpose to make me replay the game all the way through again, just with the per stage permadeath option on now. Oh yeah, that means playing through the final stage and defeating the final boss without dying. That's like a 15-minute stage that is full of obstacles that can squish you, push you off the stage, and just otherwise send you back to the loading screen in one shot. And I had to do it without dying and with finding the gold enemy. It was almost my 13th reason, but again, with enough perseverance, determination, stupid bravery, and finally, the rest of the Chaos Emeralds, I pushed through this little sub-challenge. And once completed, I blew off all the extra steam by using Tails, Knuckles, and Amy's attacks to defeat 100 enemies each. I already did Sonic's, don't know if I mentioned it earlier, and managed to defeat my 1000th enemy during all this. And now, it's time to head into spoiler territory, so make your decision to watch the next portion now. I'll make it quick though. So throughout the story of Superstars, the crew runs into Fang, who is basically working as a bounty hunter for Eggman. And Fang has a little bumbling sidekick. Eventually, the crew cheers this little sidekick up and causes her to drop her armor, reveal herself as a character named Trip, and join the crew. I honestly don't know what kind of animal she is, but she has a spinning, spiky double jump, so make your best guess based on that. Anyways, I had to beat the game again, this time as Trip. Slight update, she's an anthropomorphic sun gazer lizard, whatever that means. However, there's a catch. Every level is way harder. More enemies, more obstacles, more opportunities for the devs to laugh at you and make you cry like a little baby, which I totally did not do. Seriously, I was close, but I didn't do it. I promise. All 117 zones had to be completed on hard mode essentially. And boy, the difficulty sure did spike. Get it? Because Trip has spikes. I'll jump out of the window now. But seriously though, I feel like people don't state just how difficult this playthrough actually is. I don't have a ton of footage to show you, but trust me on this one, this is the reason why I will never touch this game again. It was absolutely ridiculous. Any ounce of fun and joy I once felt playing Sonic games are now gone because of this. Don't even get me started on Trip's final boss. Once that was painstakingly taken care of, I grinded out the first Fruit Act like 20 times to collect me 10,000th ring and play with myself. I had a clear stage with a friend, but I didn't have any friends because I just stayed home and play Sonic the Hedgehog every night. There's no way my wife would do this with me. She'll play Tetris with me, but that's about it. So I had to take care of the buddy trophy using just me and my 2 controllers. And now, I was ready to take on the true final boss. That's right. There's a final boss after the final boss after the final boss. I defeated Dr. Eggman. I defeated Fang. And now there's a giant purple dragon to defeat. No, not that one. And while it was a tough fight, playing as Supersonic makes it pretty difficult to get a game over screen. Anytime I did fall or fail to understand what was happening, I was able to correct things and take down the final threat in the game. Bada boom, bada bing, platinum trophy obtained. And just like that, I have now platinumed every mainline Sonic game from this generation. And for the final ranking, I'm going to give Sonic Superstars a B. There's a lot that I did genuinely like, but there's a lot that I just straight up didn't have fun with. Definitely better than Sonic Mania in my opinion though. And now that I've caught myself back up on this generation's Sonic games, I can tackle the latest and greatest offering. Oh, hold on, there's a call coming. Yeah? Uh-huh. Wait, I definitely completed all the main games. What do you mean there's a racing spin-off game available on PS4 with a platinum? Okay, so while I did complete all the other Sonic games on PS4 and PS5, there's still this one, which to be honest, I wasn't sure if I was actually going to go through with it. Is it actually worth playing? I haven't completed a kart racing game since Mario Kart Double Dash back in the day, and I 100%ed it like 3 times because I enjoyed it that much. Not because my memory card would need to be formatted every few months. And here's the thing. I haven't truly enjoyed a racing game since then. Crash Tag Team Racing was aight back in the day too, but no other racing game has been able to capture my attention long enough for me to beat it. So will this one change that for me? Is this platinum worth obtaining just so I can truly say I've platinumed every Sonic game available to me currently?
1 hour later.
Yeah, this game's absolutely freaking trash, bro. It took me 24 hours IRL to figure out, which was only like an hour or 2 in-game to come to the decision to not platinum this fake Sonic game. I'm not even going to consider it to be an actual Sonic title. I've never seen anyone included in any of their discussions about anything Sonic related, so for my own mental health, or what's left of it, I'm not going to go past the 18 trophies I did unlock. Essentially, the game's 52 trophy long list to platinum includes the following. Get good with all the Wisp power-ups, win an online race, get good with team abilities, because it's a team racing game, which I've never heard of before, and yes, it does have a garbage scoring system. Earn every star in adventure mode, complete adventure mode on hard difficulty, complete it again on expert difficulty, beat a friend's leaderboard time and time trial, collect 20,000 rings, spend 5,000 credits, unlock all mods and paint kits, and complete a team race with 2 local players on your team. Once again, on paper, not too shabby. In practice, physically impossible, and let me tell you why. So from that list, I was able to do a fair amount of the power-up and team ability trophies just naturally playing the game. Didn't even need to think about them. They just popped and I said, okay. I then tried my hand at the online mode just to see if the servers are alive. Hint, they're pretty DED dead. I hopped on a Saturday night and ran into the same guy over and over and over again to the point where they sent me a friend request. I respectfully declined. Not too many hip young people playing Team Sonic Racing on a Saturday night. Shocking, right? Once I was done with multiplayer, I went back into the single player story mode and wow, there was absolutely zero budget for this game, huh? PNGs of the characters talking to each other. Shady, never before seen character appears and offers everyone super fast cars so they can participate in a dangerous obstacle course against each other and no one's asking questions. Teammate AI being the worst while opponent AI being top notch and will overtake you the second you make a mistake or get hit, on hard anyways. They didn't even try the next highest difficulty. Having to boost your way to victory on every race for the entire race. Challenges for extra stars and unlocks being dang near impossible unless they are played perfectly. Visuals being sucky, audio being annoying. Music kinda slapped, and I appreciated certain tracks being based on stages from Sonic Heroes and other classic titles, but those were the only positives I could find in this game. I guess there's also this, which may be the best thing to do in the whole game. Yay gambling. Yay this being the only way to unlock upgrades for everyone. Yay not having friends that play this game, so I have no one to beat on the leaderboards or play with in person. Yay unobtainable trophies for me currently. So, yeah, instead of hurling my PS5 out the window, I'm gonna act like this game doesn't exist. Unless y'all want to see me try again and make a whole other video about it, let me know, drop a sub if you haven't already. In that case, I'll see you there. But until then, this game is going to the F tier. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I do not care. I will not hear you out on this one. There's no redeeming this game because it sucks. You know what else sucks? I gotta wait a whole month now to play Sonic X Shadow Generations, which is fine. I guess I'll actually edit the video now. Obviously that time won't really be represented here because this is a YouTube video, but just know, I am actually still so excited for this game and will patiently await its arrival. While we wait, actually, I don't have anything on me. I'm in my pajamas, so that's kind of awkward. So, How's the weather? I ended up switching my pre-order from the standard edition to the deluxe edition so I could play the game 3 days early because I have no self-control. Now obviously, this is the latest and greatest Sonic game of this generation, so I'm going to try my best to do as much spoiler control as I can. While I will be going over the trophies, I'm not going to say much about the story or anything similar outside of saying that this game might just be one of the best Sonic games I've ever played. Not much of a digital deluxe edition pre-order kind of guy anymore, but let me tell you why I was so happy to shell out a few extra dollars to get this platinum as early as I could. So this game's trophy list can be broken down as follows. Beat the stages, beat the bosses, beat the final boss without taking any damage, S-rank every act, clear all challenge acts, and find all the collectibles. Do it all once in Sonic Generations, and then do it all again in Shadow Generations. That's right, Sonic X Shadow Generations is actually more like 2 games in one package. You have the Sonic Generations remaster that plays more or less just like the original from the PS3, and has a slightly stripped down trophy list, aka no freebie trophies here. But then you also have a fresh experience of Shadow with some modern enhancements to the Generations formula. I was able to finish Shadow's story in roughly 3 or 4 hours, and it was filled with all sorts of goodies. It was truly awesome playing stages from Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes, Sonic 06, Sonic Forces, and Sonic Frontiers, all in one sweet little package. Well, you can even call Shadow sweet, which you definitely can't at this point. In addition, the White Space Hub World is now a Frontiers-esque hub world full of chests to open using keys from the stages, little ring and time challenges, and other little doodads to find for various characters. This all leads into me actually starting with Shadow Generations first over the Sonic Generations remaster. I cleared all 6 stages, each composed of 2 acts, the first one in 3D and the second one in 2D, defeated all 4 bosses as they appeared, and then got to work clearing all the challenge acts, which weren't too challenging at first, but boy let me tell you, they did eventually get pretty challenging and had me questioning my gamer abilities towards the end of them. With all the acts and challenges now cleared, it was time for cleanup, which involved going back and S-ranking every stage, minus the boss stages, collecting all the keys needed to unlock all of the collection boxes in White Space. Thankfully, the S-ranks weren't super difficult to achieve until the zone I predicted. The final zone of Shadow's story. Honestly though, I had a hard time grabbing all the keys than I did getting good enough times for S-ranks. Guess I'm just naturally a speedy Sonic player, not to brag or anything. As I racked up those S-ranks, I mentioned that I picked up keys along the way. Each stage had 3 keys associated with collection boxes found in the open world hub space. Some are pretty out in the open and easy to find. Others were pretty cleverly hidden or just straight up tucked away in a very hard to find nook. Luckily, since I didn't get to this part of the process until a few days after the early access period started, there were already a few guys ready to help me out and make sure I didn't run around in circles like a blind squirrel. But perhaps even more difficult than the S-ranks and 96 collection boxes was finding all 80 of the rocket parts. These Ratchet and Clank looking nuts and bolts were also scattered around White Space and required me to search high and low for them. Unlike the boxes, however, these did not appear on the minimap at all. If I didn't have a key for a box, I could easily locate it later. But if I couldn't locate a part, well, again, I was dependent on the guide for my success here. Another 20-minute video guide later, and the trophy was unlocked. But wait, I was still missing 2 more collectibles. Where were they if they weren't challenge, box, or open world related? Turns out, talking to all the characters counted towards the final collectible count, so I had to chat with Shadow's favorite people to wrap this trophy up. That left me with the 16th and final trophy for Shadow Generations, Untouchable, unlocked for beating the final boss without taking any damage. I would say that my god-given gamer abilities made this a cakewalk, but that would be a lie. It took me just a few attempts, but once I learned how to expertly beat every part of the fight, I walked home with the trophy. Well, maybe I didn't actually walk home since I was already sitting at home, but you get the point. Just over 13 hours later, and I had unlocked 44% of Sonic X Shadow Generations trophies. So naturally, I started grinding Black Ops 6 and started racing to Master Prestige. Just kidding, who cares about that nowadays? Is me. I care. But I pushed that care aside and got to work on Sonic Generations instead, cause I'm a man on a mission here. Like I said earlier, Sonic Generations basically shares the same trophy formula. Beat the stages, beat the bosses, find and unlock everything. Piece of cake. Especially since I did it way back in the day. That's right. I'll remind you again that I platinumed Sonic Generations for the PS3 12 years ago, so I think I knew what I was doing. Again, that would be a lie. It did start out pretty simple though. Play through 3 zones with 2 acts each based on the Genesis era, followed by a rival race and a boss fight. Then do the same for the Adventure era, and again for the start of the Boost era. Doing all this awarded me all 7 Chaos Emeralds. So with those in hand, I walked into the final boss fight, had no idea what was happening, and just sort of beat it. This will be a fun one to do without getting hit for another trophy later. So after roughly 3 hours and the main story complete, it was time for cleanup again. And it was the same process. Get all 18 S ranks, clear all 90 challenge acts, unlock all 37 skills, rescue all 54 Chow, get all 90 red star rings, and obtain all 261 collectibles. And then, like I just said, beat the final boss without taking any damage. Now, I actually had a pretty good time up until this point, as Sonic Generations is just one of those games that actually does everything really well and hits the nostalgia factor perfectly, even though Classic Sonic may be a little overdone at this point in time. I started by completing Classic Sonic's challenge acts, which while they weren't outright difficult by any means, they did take me a little bit longer than expected. So to make sure I wouldn't lose my mind playing modern Sonic's challenges right after, I decided to hunt down some red star rings and Chow, which helped me earn a few S ranks and skills. Unfortunately, this is where my mental fortitude was really challenged. I didn't even make it out of the Genesis era stages before deciding I wasn't having fun anymore. I'm so over replaying stages just to find a collectible or two. I've played way too many Sonic games over the past few months and needed to wrap up this journey sooner rather than later. So I doubled down on the collectible hunt. Ripped to my mental well-being. I hunkered down for the Adventure era stages and the Boost era stages, earning every single S rank, Chow, and Red Star ring. Not to say that I didn't have my troubles though. But with all that out of the way, I was able to focus on taking out modern Sonic's challenge acts, which also earned me every skill and every collectible, leaving me with one final trophy standing between me and Sonic X Generation's Platinum Trophy. Can't touch this. Unlocked for beating the final boss without getting hit. I've done it once before and I'll do it again. So I made attempt after attempt after attempt, and after relearning the attack patterns like the back of my hand, I did the unthinkable. Just kidding, I knew I could do it, even if it took a few tries. And just like that, I unlocked the Sonic X Shadow Generations Platinum Trophy after 26 hours of gameplay. 13 hours on Sonic Generations, 13 hours on Shadow Generations. Peak Sonic gaming. Easy S tier. Sonic Generations was and is a great game to play. Shadow Generations is an awesome game that builds perfectly off of what Sonic Generations started. And overall, great package for any Sonic fan, which perfectly leads me into saying that with how good this game is, I now have to adjust my final tier list to better reflect that and my updated thoughts and feelings on all of this generation's supersonic gaming. Alright, so how's my tier list looking now? Holy, I might have some edits to make. I'm actually going to start from the bottom up. Team Sonic Racing, not a real game. Sonic Forces, we'll keep that in D tier. Don't play it. Sonic Mania, I was definitely too harsh on it. Looking back at it, it is a very well-made game. So I'm actually gonna bump it up to B tier, which now that we're in B tier, Sonic Superstars is going down to C tier. Sonic Colors Ultimate, I'm going to keep there. I'm keeping Frontiers at A, which leaves Sonic Origins. I'm actually going to drag back down to A. But Sonic X Shadow Generations is peak Sonic gaming. Seriously, if you are on the fence about it, please go and grab this game at your earliest convenience. You will not be disappointed. There we have it, y'all. Every platinum trophy from this generation of Sonic the Hedgehog games. If you liked the video and want to see me unlock more platinum trophies, make sure to subscribe and leave a like, for the algorithm. And remember, you are loved and I appreciate you. If you want to see me go for another list of platinum trophies, make sure to check out this video right here. It's right here, right? At editor me. It's right here, right? Yeah, cool. Peace.